Okay, so this is a little bit about latent hyperopia. There isn't too much about this out there on YouTube, which is a bit of a shame. With hyperopia or long-sightedness, it takes time to develop over the years. So that's the idea of the latent. But they can measure how much there is there altogether, even if it hasn't developed yet. So that, say if it was +3 and they measured a +1 in the reading test, and then they put the drops in and the drops relax your eyes, they show a +3. Well, that's your latent hyperopia. So what commonly happens here is that someone will begin college or they'll begin work perhaps, and then they'll start getting eye strain. They'll go to the optician, they'll get diagnosed with latent hyperopia, and they'll get given glasses, and what they then find is that the glasses are too strong. They can't see through them, but they can't manage without them, and they kind of end up with no glasses ever really work perfectly. So the reason behind this, I think, now this is actually appropriate to strabismus as well. So anyone coming to this video who's got latent hyperopia and is having these issues, I've put loads of strabismus exercises there. They're very, very relevant to the same thing. So, they find that the glasses don't work as they should do. I mean, sometimes you can try half strength, whatever. But what is happening here is that, but by the time they've come to get their diagnosis, they're often either late teenager or adult. So they've lived a long time with a visual system that has adapted itself to how they need to get about in the world. And that's actually not going to change overnight just with a pair of glasses. So you're talking about, like in Britain, things like visual therapy are pretty much non-existent. So I think the States are actually a bit better at this. So you kind of actually need a three-pronged approach to break everything down and then to build it up from scratch again. So by the time someone has learned that they've got latent hyperopia, yes, they get the glasses, and the glasses will help, and they do need the glasses for sure. But also, part of their coping strategy up until that time, is often to over-accommodate, so to use more muscle than you would normally to look at everything. So a lot of staring, a lot of inflexible viewing of things. So, maybe not moving your eyes around so much, a lot of fixed viewing of things. So all that kind of needs to be broken down. It will also affect your posture. There may be a lot of tension in the shoulders, and one classic sign of eye strain is neck pain, shoulder pain. So there's a lot of tension that you've just normally built up as your way of coping over the years. So you haven't developed the same viewing habits as, say, a normally sighted person would. So it's not as simple as, well, you're going to do differently, because you don't know how to do any differently because you've never ever done it. So this is where some visual therapy can come in useful. So, all right, you do your exercises, but you still don't know. You kind of need a three-pronged approach. So you absolutely need the glasses, otherwise you're not going to function. I mean, without your glasses, it's like you're trying to walk in a pair of shoes that are too tight. So imagine you've been spending all your life wearing shoes that are too tight. It's going to change the way you walk. But because you've always walked that way, you know, getting more comfortable shoes, yes, it's a good thing, but you don't know how to walk any differently now you've got them, even though your feet are more comfortable, because you've never ever learned to walk normally. And it's the same with your eyesight. So you kind of need to do exercises to learn other ways, more flexible ways of doing things. And you also, you need a psychological understanding. So as well as having the glasses, having the exercises, you need to be able to understand what has happened, why it's happened, and how these exercises will help. So you actually need all three. This certainly applies to strabismus as well, because that again is where you've developed a coping mechanism, and you need to learn other ways of doing things. And once those are in place, that gives you more choice. So, you know, you may still be doing the old things for a bit, but the new things, you know, hopefully will be a better choice. So you start sort of going over to that system a bit more. So, you know, what happens with a hyperopia, sometimes they give a cycloplegia. Atropine is an example of one, but they don't always use that. I think it's more something they use in America perhaps, because it's not actually licensed in Britain. So they give a tiny amount of that to try and relax the eyes. But what they find sometimes is once that treatment stops, then, you know, the old ways of doing things return. And similarly with Botox. Botox is very useful for treating strabismus sometimes, because the muscles, like, they either tense or relax. I can't remember with Botox, or the eye aligns itself the way it should align, and so that kind of lasts for about 6 weeks, but once it wears off, you've got the same problem all over again. So you need to, if you're going to get those treatments, you kind of need to have some visual therapy backup to learn new habits. It's like if someone has an alcohol dependency, they go into rehab, they stop drinking, yeah, great. They come back into the real world, and they start drinking again because they haven't learned to live differently. So you kind of need to do all that. So you need first you absolutely need your glasses. So that's your actual physical treatment of the problem. You need to do some visual therapy or some exercises. That's to learn some new strategies. And you also need your psychological approach, because that is your understanding of how your body is working, and how your body, your eyes are coping, and how they can cope differently in the future.